or what the various states of DC fast charging are from 25 up to 350 kilowatts at the moment. So I think it really will depend on what the driver's needs are and what they are willing to pay.
So I'm going to go back to the reliability, because this is all about availability and reliability. Carleen, do we have enough talent to maintain the EVSEs, and what skills do we need?
Yes, so the short answer is no, we do not have enough talent. And I think that, we need skilled certified electricians and we need technicians. So, depending on who's handling the high voltage systems versus who's going out and replacing a screen or who's replacing, a cable that's broken. I think that, when we're looking at this broad deployment of charging stations, basically everywhere you go, we're looking at a massive maintenance issue, which I think we really, level 2, we do need to have distributed, but, really making the level 3s much more into a hub, I think is essential. I look at the fossil fuel industry and think, well, here's an opportunity for transition, for workforce training, workforce development, that we can, help people who are losing their jobs as we move over to renewable energy, and help get those folks deployed, trained, up in working in the fields, and hopefully at good paying jobs also, not the cheapest way to get in there. I think that's not going to be helpful in the transition.
Yeah, if I could jump in, Rue, I totally agree with Carleen. I do want to make a fine point, though, just to emphasize that there really is two different skills that are involved, and it often gets, I think, confused, where an electrician traditionally would be the person who actually installs the charger, but are often and increasingly being called upon to be the service technician for the chargers once they're already deployed. And that's not necessarily always the best way to do it, or the most cost effective and efficient way to do it. An electrician is typically skilled at getting those chargers deployed, but not necessarily in servicing them. As Carleen mentioned, screens break, payment systems break, cables and connectors break. Those kinds of things are not necessarily, an electrician can figure it out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the most efficient way to do it. And there's an opportunity to create, a workforce that really knows how to service and support these chargers on an ongoing basis, distinct from an electrician.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some more questions coming through. Are there significant cyber concerns with the equipment? Rob?
I think the answer is yes, there is. Significant, probably not yet. I'm not aware of any instances where there has been a major incident, though I wouldn't rule it out as potentially occurring in the future. This is one of the things we speak to our clients about, probably not enough, frankly. And there is some guidance in the marketplace around what to do when it comes to cybersecurity. I think as these chargers continue to advance, and the back office systems that accompany them continue to advance, and there's more opportunity for incidences, I suspect that will continue to be more of a focus. It's interesting. It's almost like, what problem are you solving for in this cybersecurity world? It could be credit card payment data that gets stolen. It could be the VIN number of your car that could get stolen. It could be any number of things, or other incidences that could occur. And I think until something goes really badly wrong, I don't know too much how we can continue to plan for that. I think generally speaking, you can put frameworks and you can put protocols in place to try and manage it and mitigate potential incidences. But I think something will probably go wrong in the future, and that will inform how we continue to adapt.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, Rob. I agree that it hasn't been much in the industry, but I do think that's a place for the national labs to come up with cyber security protocols that then can be deployed in the private sector, rather than putting that burden of that cost on private sector.
That's a great point, Carleen. Sorry, Rick.
Multi-answer question that's just come in here. So rank the top reasons for EVSE downtime. A, monitoring, knowing that there's a problem. B, lack of skilled labor available near the charger. C, lack of parts for fixing the charger, or something else. What do you think is the top reasons for EVSE downtime? Now, you have mentioned networking, but consider the other ones there. Jordan, over to you.
I think it's availability of the labor, but it's hard to answer that, because even if the labor is available and then they don't have access to the parts, or vice versa, it all comes down to it. But it's probably availability of finding labor to be in the right place at the right time with the parts that they need, and the training they have at the same time to be able to support that particular charger at that particular moment.
Yeah, I would like to see more participation from the OEMs, from the manufacturers out there. It appears now that they're saying it's not my problem, it's not my problem, and days and sometimes weeks go by before they acknowledge that, okay, go replace the unit. Rob, what's your
well again, I think that goes back to my point earlier, which I want to emphasize, is that I really do believe that the challenge is that most of the charge station manufacturers consider themselves as part of the supply chain and value chain of a system, but are called upon to be the prime. And that's where a real solution provider needs to be the prime in the project, who then owns the ongoing operation and maintenance of the project. And I think there's just been a lot of confusion in that. And I hope the industry can learn from that, both the private sector, like, JLL as an example, as Robert mentioned, to public-private partnerships that are putting out RFPs, to NEVI projects, all of those things, they need to be structured in a way where the solution provider is the prime and owns and controls the ongoing management and support of the project.
That's a great observation. I applaud that observation there, Jordan. And probably that's why that full integration of what Tesla is doing, which makes them a lot more successful now. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about range anxiety. Okay. I got an electric car. I live in California. I wanted to drive to Phoenix, Arizona. It's about 400 miles, 450, somewhere around there. It was just on the edge of my capability for my EV. I could make the trip, but I needed a charge along the route. I was worried to death that when I got to this charger, that it was actually going to work. Range anxiety. Are we going to get over it? I mean, what's your take on range anxiety, Carleen?
Yeah, I think range anxiety is definitely dropping. I think people are becoming less and less concerned about range anxiety. And I've read several places, and also in ChargeX, talking about charger anxiety. As you mentioned, when you get there, is it going to work? And is it going to give you the speed that you're looking for? So when we're working with consumers, it's really not so much about range anxiety. It used to be the vehicle's, 80 miles before you need to recharge. So it's definitely becoming less of an issue, certainly in the states where EVs have really taken off and there's charging infrastructure, but it's become this charger anxiety versus range anxiety is increasing.
Well, Rob, I know in the UK, the distance is, it's a smaller, the towns are closer together, but you still get range anxiety. Are you seeing that the general public are still got that anxiety there before they'll go buy an EV?
I think Carleen, you made a great point. I think it's becoming a mixed bag of range anxiety and charger anxiety. And I'll tell you, mine is charger anxiety over range anxiety. That's for sure. Because the range is very well known, the availability of a charger probably less known in many instances. I think that will continue to be an issue or a challenge for the industry for a number of years. I'm hopeful that with the work from the NEVI, the federal funding that's come out, the $7.5 billion, that will start to fill a gap when it comes to routes and corridors that will hopefully facilitate a reduction in range anxiety. But I think it's really important to ensure that the charges that are being put out there are working, because they go hand in hand. The range anxiety is fueled by the charger anxiety and vice versa. And so I think it will continue to be something that's there. And I think as Carleen said, it's already decreasing, but I think it will continue to decrease, but not completely go away.
Yeah, interesting. So another question here. What level of preventative maintenance schedule should be required and how often? Over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. I think it's, it probably would be up to the charger manufacturer to define the actual maintenance schedule. But I think from my experience, what we've often seen is, usually like a 6-month kind of maintenance, 6 to 12-month kind of maintenance schedule, roughly, depending upon the level of the charger and the charger manufacturer.
Can I add to that? I think the industry just has to get a lot smarter, in using predictive tools about, they should know at this point what things are most often breaking and what their time cycle is. So I think that's just, as we enter a more mature market, that the industry, I agree with Jordan, by the OEM, that, they will know their own products and should be able to kind of predict what the maintenance cycle should be.
I totally agree. And, being in the O&M industry for almost over a couple of decades now, the manufacturers need to do more in communicating what the problem is. They know with the error codes exactly what the problem is. And because we've got all these different manufacturers, no one wants to talk to the other. We got to come together. We've certainly got to come together. And we are going to start to wrap up right now. I want to thank each and every one of you it's been a great panel. I hope our attendees and our listeners have got something out of this. Hope we can come up with a solution to get a better infrastructure wherever we are. I mean, seriously, East, West Coast, we've got to have a better experience. So Robert and Carleen and Jordan, thank you so very much for participating into today's event. And thank you all for attending. Thank you. If you missed part of the discussion or you would like to share it, keep your eyes on your emails and we'll share a link for the recording in coming days. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can actually come and see what we're doing over at SkillFusion. That's skillfusion.com. And any one of these guests on today's show, hit them up on LinkedIn, and I'm sure they'd be happy to talk with you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Nice to see you all.
Bye-bye.